SB19 continues to make history. They sold out the North American leg of their tour. They sold out Japan. And in the Philippines, they don't just pool local audiences, they attract hundreds of fans flying in from other countries. The demand is so consistent that when 1Z Entertainment, SB19's own management company, offered a full tourist package for foreign fans during the kickoff of their tour, it sold out almost instantly. Flights, hotel stays, and concert tickets bundled together, something no Filipino act had dared to offer before, were snapped up with enthusiasm. This is no longer a local story. SB19 is no longer simply our pride or viral act. They are a cultural phenomenon with proven commercial pull in multiple markets. The question is not whether SB19 has the potential to change the perception of Filipino music, but whether the Philippines will recognize what they represent and invest in that momentum. The biggest act ever in the Philippines. Even during the glory years of Philippine pop, when names like Pops Fernandez, Gary Valenciano, Martin Rivera, and Regine Velasquez reigned supreme, no one achieved the breadth of SB19's success. Those stars filled arenas, sure, but no one has toured at the size of SB19. The Wyatt or Were You At tour in 2022 had 10 shows. The Pagtatag World Tour had 18. The Simula at Wakas World Tour in 2025 is scheduled for around 19 shows. SB19 doesn't just stage a Manila show and leave it at that. They tour provinces, reaching cities often overlooked by big name acts. And they don't just fill those venues, they sell them out. This is unprecedented. They are tapping into communities that have been left out by the mainstream entertainment ecosystem, proving that the demand exists outside the capital. Some argue that technology and the groundwork laid by K pop gave SB19 a boost. Sure, social media, YouTube, and global awareness of Asian pop certainly created opportunities. But every generation has its tool. And what sets SB19 apart is that unlike K pop idols, they don't have the backing of multi billion won entertainment giants or the promotional machinery of a national broadcaster. They've built their empire with grit, talent, and a fraction of the resources. By sheer commercial metrics, SB19 is arguably the most successful Filipino act of all time. And yet, they remain without institutional support. Cultural success as economic catalyst. A single breakout can relight an industry. Hollywood lives on that logic. BTS's annual economic effect was estimated at 4.65 billion, roughly 0.5% of Korea's GDP at peak, plus measurable lifts to exports, inbound tourism, that 1 in 13 foreign visitors linked to BTS's influence in 2018. The point isn't to equate SB19 to BTS. It's to show what a coordinated state to industry pipeline can do when it meets global demand. SB19 represents the same opportunity. They've cracked open doors that were left shut to Filipino performers. But unlike Korea or the US, the Philippines has no consistent pipeline that captures SB19's momentum and recycles it into exports, tourism, jobs, and IP. The question of money and infrastructure. Before BTS broke internationally, Big Hit Entertainment was on the edge of bankruptcy. Their survival hinged on South Korea's cultural financing programs, which allowed companies producing cultural content to access loans and grants. South Korea set up policy financing and content industry support that Korea internationally built via the COCA programs. That includes production and export support, content value lending, and others. And it also includes export risk tools like K-Sure Guarantee. These are institutional levers designed to help promising IP compete globally. SB19 is in a parallel position now. They have the raw talent, the fan base, and the international interest. What they lack is the financial caution that could accelerate their global expansion. Preferential loans, export insurance, and tax credits for cultural exports would let acts like SB19 grow faster without asking the government to pick winners, just to underwrite proven traction. It could make the difference between them plateauing in Asia and breaking through in North America, the single biggest music market in the world. Without that, they are competing uphill, self financing while carrying the burden of being cultural trailblazers. This is where the government needs to act, not to manufacture success, but to give successful acts like SB19 the tools to scale. SB19 storytelling, a blueprint for cultural lore. SB19's artistry extends beyond music. They are storytellers. Their trilogy of albums, Pagsibol or Growth, Pagtatag or Foundation, and the upcoming Simula at Wakas, Beginning and End, lays out a cohesive narrative of struggle, triumphs, and renewal. This is the kind of myth making that cultures used to define themselves. Imagine a government backed program turning this trilogy into a cultural drama, a series of films or musicals. Countries that export culture at scale regularly convert music arcs into dramas, films, comics, and live experiences with public policy behind it. South Korea funds shows that double as advertisements for its culture. The US institutionalizes grants and tax credits to keep Hollywood pumping out stories that influence the world. Japan literally capitalized on state backed vehicle. The Cool Japan Fund, now a 143.3 billion in capital fund to project culture globally. France's CNC funds cinema and TV via a levy and reinvest model and targeted grants, keeping domestic storytelling competitive. Beyond group projects, the solo work of SB19 members also carries thematic weight. Personal stories of resilience, identity, and ambition that mirror the Filipino spirit. If we attached similar mechanisms to SB19's existing narrative, plus solo projects, you'd have a year of cross media content with an audience already primed to buy. The West is watching, but the Philippines is not. The North American music industry has been quietly learning from BTS. Record labels are shifting from being distributors or publishers to managing intellectual properties or IP. They've realized that the real money is in building ecosystems, merch, fandom apps, character licensing, and film crossovers. Geffen even partnered with Hybe to learn firsthand. SB19 already operates this way. They have one of the strongest fan artist ecosystems in Southeast Asia. Their fans act as marketers, promoters, and evangelists. The West sees this as the future. The Philippines, ironically, seems blind to it. Government could step in by reforming IP laws, creating training programs under TESDA to help young creatives develop SB19 inspired projects, and even launching platforms that connect fans directly with artists. Korea has weavers. The Philippines could have its own uniquely localized version. Bridging cultural gaps in provinces. A major structural weakness in the Philippines is the lack of cultural infrastructure in provinces. Limited airports, poorly maintained theaters, and few multi purpose venues mean most cultural activity is Manila centric. SB19 is already proving that demand exists across the islands. If the government invested in regional cultural centers, venues that could host concerts, exhibits, and festivals, it would not only bring art to underserved areas, but also spark local industries. Imagine a tour stop in Cebu or Davao that isn't just a concert, but a week long festival featuring traditional music, food fairs, art exhibits, a Coachella like festival. SB19 could be the draw, but the spillover would revitalize regional culture. Such integration could even help shape a distinctly Filipino sound. Traditional rhythms and instruments could merge with pop, producing something globally unique. This is how Japan developed its J pop identity and how Korea incorporated traditional motifs into K pop visuals. The Philippines has even richer materials to work with. We have more than 180 ethno linguistic groups in the country, varied aesthetics, languages, sounds, but it requires structural support. Money left on the table. For SB19's international fans, one of the greatest frustration is access. Their albums and merchandise are hard to find abroad. Many can't even purchase albums on global platforms like Amazon. Meanwhile, embassies and consulates remain passive, missing an obvious opportunity to serve as cultural connectors. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's lost income. Fans are ready to spend, but there's no channel to spend through. South Korea built its soft power partly by making K pop omnipresent. Albums, merch, and media were always within reach. The Philippines, by contrast, makes its culture scarce. Culture as entry point, but build the second spend. South Korea's concert venues often double as cultural centers, with museums and interactive exhibits that teach history alongside entertainment. America has done this for decades, with Hollywood serving as both cultural export and national branding tool. Both in Korea and in America, whenever you go to a venue, you always experience multiple things. In the Philippines, SB19 could play this role, but the follow up isn't there. A fan might fly in for a concert, but once the show ends, there's little else to explore that ties them into Philippine culture. No museums attached to arenas, no curated cultural experiences, no institutional bridges. SB19 opens the door, but fans step inside to find emptiness. Nurturing a culture of spending on the arts. Another major factor in Korea's success is domestic spending power. A strong economy means fans can afford albums, tickets, and merchandise. This self sustaining loop feeds their cultural exports. Filipinos don't have yet that same disposable income. That's not something SB19 can fix on their own. It requires government commitment to strengthen the economy broadly so Filipinos can afford to support their own cultural products. Without economic empowerment, even the most passionate fandoms will have limits. We already have a law, let's use it. In 2022, the Philippines passed the Creative Industries Development Act, RA 11904, creating the PCID Council and mandating a long term plan to promote and protect creative industries and IP. This is the legal backbone for everything proposed here. It just needs budget, execution, and metrics tied to export growth. And here are some recommendations. One, cultural export finance and insurance, modeled on COCA or KSURE. We need to provide concessional loans plus export credit guarantees for acts with proven foreign demand. If a tour sells out, for example, then we can give them tax breaks. If they pull in tourists to the country, they deserve a tax break. We need to provide foreign distribution, multilingual marketing, and US distribution partners. Second, IP and creative SMP upskilling in coordination with TESDA and CCP. Fast track IP enforcement and template contracts for music adjacent media like webtoons, docs, and games. Fund about 50 micro studios annually to build licensed SB19 adjacent content, revenue share back to artists and state fund. Third, provincial creative hubs. We should create a national creative infrastructure program. Co-fund 10 regional venues with 2 to 5,000 capacity, with black box theaters and small galleries. Require each SB19 provincial stop to anchor a 7-day cultural program with LGUs, museums, and local artisans. Number 4, cultural tourism pipeline, or the second spend, package concert with heritage and museum passes, food routes, and craft markets, measure per visitor spend uplift. Task DOT and DFA to co pilot consulate level pop culture kiosks that will contain albums, books, crafts in 5 cities with SB19 demand. Number 5, global distribution and trade mission. Use RA 11904 to fund distribution MOUs so Filipino albums and merch are consistently listed on major retailers. Run music trade missions around SB19's tour cities. Label meetings, sync pitching, and diaspora retail onboarding. For centuries, maybe, the Philippines has suffered from colonial mentality. The idea that our culture, music, and art, they are inferior than that of the West. But I think SB19 has proven that Filipinos can appreciate Filipino talents. If Filipino talents are given a platform, we can actually stand shoulder to shoulder with foreign acts. But SB19 can't do it alone. They crack the door open, but it's up to the government to establish and build infrastructure, institutions, and policies that will transform that opportunity into a national soft power. We have to acknowledge that SB19 is not just a boy band. They are a cultural asset and a rare one at that. But if we do not act now, we risk losing the momentum that they have already established. They've proven that they can get the attention of the global community. It's up to us whether or not we are actually going to do something with that attention that they are getting. Would love to hear your thoughts. As always, leave them in the comment section below. You can say whatever it is that you want to say, just please do so respectfully. Please consider donating to the channel. We launched our online magazine, asianentertainmentandculture.com. Please visit the site. Hopefully, we can do an actual launch very, very soon. Also, please follow me on X, IG, but more importantly on Patreon, because that's where the community is. You can participate there. There is a free tier just in case you want to try things out first. And I've also opened my YouTube membership. I do a once a week members only live stream. And those things don't go public, it remains private just for members. Okay, that's it. Please like the video, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And of course, share the video if you can. I would really appreciate that. And that's really going to help the channel get recommended by the algorithm. Thank you so much. Till next time.